No risk, no reward. That's the phrase that I thought of after playing Path of Titans yesterday with a couple of my friends on the Apex Killers server. We decided to go after some sauropod bounties. And as you could probably tell by the title, these were seemingly insurmountable sauropods. One of the sauropods, the one that you see here in this clip, was an experienced sauropod player. This is Goji Spinosaurus, and he's a very good player, and he's experienced on the sauropod. And he picked this impossible spot for us to fight him. I mean, he's on that little tiny cliff. He's on his nest where he gets extra healing in between combat, and there is no room for us to get in there and hit him without getting hit in return. So it was really a brilliant spot for him to pick, and it was a very, very hard challenge that we wanted to attempt here. Luckily, I teamed up with a couple of excellent players, and this first one is solo. He plays, right now he's been playing DB Giga as his main, and he's definitely one of the best on the server, so it was a pleasure to be able to team up with him and go after this bounty. But you'll be able to see in this clip, I mean, we took a lot of punishment, and I mean, those stomps and the tail attacks, somehow this guy on his sauropod, when he does a tail attack, it can hit the air next to you and still somehow knock you back. I saw him sit down right there, and I wanted to run in and get a hit, but I couldn't do my charge and my gouge bite at the same time, so I had to get a flesh graze on him. But the flesh graze still makes him bleed a lot and will do a little bit of damage. I normally run gouge and flesh graze when I'm hunting sauropods. It seems to work the best. The gouge slows their movement and also makes them bleed and does medium damage. And then the flesh graze will like magnify their bleed. It minimizes their bleed healing, and it'll also heal the Giga in return. So both of those together seem to be pretty good, and with sauropods you're kind of getting in and out anyway. You're not really standing next to them and biting a lot most of the time, so it seems to be a fairly good combo. However, sometimes I've switched over. I tried it for the first time actually in this next fight. You'll see where I tried the sanguine snap on Cynic's recommendation, and that seemed to work pretty decently too. So there's just different situations where each one of those bites will actually work fairly well when you're fighting against sauropods. The nice thing about these DB Gigas is they can take a lot of punishment. So when you're fighting a sauropod like this one, like on a PT Giga, you'd be taking way too much damage and probably end up dying because you can't really get in and out. The PT Giga is better for getting in, getting a hit, and getting out without taking hits in return. But this one is better at brawling, really. You can go in and actually trade with these guys a little bit, and then as long as you get your flesh graze, you can get out and get some health, and then the heal their heal rate is fairly quick as well. So as long as you can get in, get a flesh graze, and get out, and also get some damage on them, you could trade a little bit on the DB Giga. So it makes it it's just a different play style, really. I think the PT Giga takes a lot more skill and practice to use. It's a lot harder to use the PT Giga, but the DB Giga, I think it's a bit easier to use, and it can take a lot more punishment. So I think it's a little bit of a better choice when you're going to go out hunting sauropods. But once it's probably a good beginner. If you're new at hunting sauropods, I'd start with the DB Giga, and then once you get really good at it, you can kind of graduate to the PT Giga. Is sort of how I see those two. But they're both excellent at taking out sauropods. But because these were bounties and these guys were in like impossible spots, they weren't fighting in the open whatsoever, except for this guy did a little bit, but for the most part he was up on that cliff. And so that's why we chose the DB Gigas to figured we'd have the best chances at success with the DB Giga in these fights, considering the positions that the players were putting themselves in for the bounties. This bounty here was 800,000, and then the next one was 1,000,000. So we each got pretty good bounty payouts. You can see I'm using Southern Tyrant. That boosts my armor even more, and I'm using the forward momentum hide so I don't lose as much speed as I normally would, and that's helping us brawl with this guy in such a tight spot. And you can take hits like that on the DB Giga. The PT Giga probably would have been dead with that hit, but and this is the point in the fight right here where Solo really won this whole thing for us. He came in clutch right here. He noticed that he was leaving his nest, and I thought he was going to get water, but Solo knew immediately he was going for that bridge right down there on the left side, and if he gets back there, we're not going to be able to get him. So Solo just took the risk. This is where I talk about no risk, no reward. He knew that he had to kill him right here, or the fight was going to be over. So he ran in, risked this headbutt right here, knocked him off, and killed him. So, I mean, that was some quick thinking and decisive action, and he predicted what he was going to do. So, I mean, that was an amazing play by Solo, and he definitely won that for us. Right after that, I teamed up with Sin, and he got himself into this predicament where he's in this corner with this Argent, and we thought for sure that this was going to be certain death. And he's bone broken and in front of an Argent, like the worst place you could possibly be. He even gets down in there, and this Argent swivels around and hits him with a tail. And look at his health. I mean, right there he gets hit by the tail. I run in here to try to run a distraction, get the attention of the Argent so that he can't hit him with another tail. I think that helped a little bit, but Sin was somehow able to swim away. I mean, look at him. Look at his health bar over there. I mean, the guy is a magician. I don't understand how in the world he survived that, but he did. So if that didn't take place, if he didn't survive that, that would have failed this entire hunt. And I think he got some pretty good damage on him in return, and you might have noticed I got a flesh graze on the Argent's neck in that whole process as well. So it ended up being a really good exchange for us. So Sin's got to make his way back, and I'm just trying to do as much damage to this guy as I can. In the meantime, there's not a lot of angles I can take. I'm going to be getting hit by this tail, but luckily I'm on the DB Giga and it can take some punishment. And as long as I get some flesh grazes in the process, I should be able to pull it off. Nice thing about the DB Giga is if you do get bone broken like that, you have a charge. And if you time it right, you can charge out just like this and get out and survive that bone break. I charged up a bite there at the end just to deter him so he wouldn't chase me, and then I could get away and heal up. But if you don't time that charge right and they hit you with a headbutt, they can actually knock you out of it. So you got to be really careful with that, with the timing on that charge. So Sin's back, and he stands up there on that ledge there and gets a bunch of headshots on him, and I just keep doing my hit and runs down here. So that way he's got to look at both of us. Either I'm going to hit him from behind or Sin's going to hit him in the head from that ledge up there. It's a good strategy to use when you're fighting Argents, is always try to keep each Giga in a different spot so that they have to look in two different directions. They're swiveling their camera around. They can never see both of you at the same time. If you can make that happen, then it'll really help the fights. And then if they sit down like that to get the bleed off, you've got to take the risk to run in and get a hit on them, because it'll do double the damage when they're sitting and quadruple the damage if they fully lay down. We've both healed up enough now where we can launch another attack. Sin's using the Sanguine Snap so he can get many bites off once he gets down in there, and the more bites he gets, each bite does more damage than the last and more bleed. So if he can get 5, 6 of them, then that'll be a really good amount of damage. And I'm still using the Gouge Bite at this point, so I can put the slow down on him. It slows him down and it makes him bleed more, and then it does medium damage and high bleed. Now, at this point, he decides to go in the water and swim around, and so he doesn't have any bleed healing at all. This maximizes their bleed damage when they're swimming. So we just go in and try to get as many hits on him as possible. Sin can spam those bites. I was only able to get one gouge bite and one flesh graze. Probably would have been better had I had the sanguine snap, because I could have been sitting there with Sin and just stacking up the damage on him. But either way, we just both jumped in and put as much damage on him as possible. I think that really turned the tide in our favor here with this fight. Pretty sure that Argent player thought that he could probably stand somewhere in there, and then found out the hard way that he couldn't, so we got lucky. And, you know, even though I say we got lucky, in the end, fortune favors the bold. And you can create situations where you can almost make luck work in your favor. And that's by taking risks and taking calculated risks. And Sin is the master at that. And he's definitely the reason that we won this fight here, because he was jumping off these cliffs and risking fall damage to get hits. He was swimming in the water and brawling with this dude, putting himself in between a wall and an Argent and somehow getting a bunch of hits and sneaking his way out of there. And if he wasn't doing all that, we definitely would not have won this. So even though we got lucky, like I said, the reason that luck actually worked in our favor was because of all the risks that we were taking, in particular the risks that Sin was taking. So it just continued the theme of the day of no risk, no reward. And without these guys playing with me, I wouldn't have been taking the risks that I was taking. So it really, really contributed to our success with these insurmountable sauropod bounties. Now at this point, since he's in this situation where he's swimming, we decided that I should switch over to the sanguine snap like Sin had. That way I can really maximize and capitalize on those little windows of opportunity that we get when we can both be right next to him getting damage. That way, instead of just getting one hit with the gouging bite and then maybe a flesh graze and having a long cooldown, I can just jump in, get a whole bunch of bites on him, maximize the damage and the DPS in that small amount of time that we have, and then get out and survive. So that's what we're doing here. You can see after you stack it to 5, it's doing a lot of damage. That's how you want it. So as many bites as you can get with that 5 stack, the better. And this is what I'm always afraid of with the sanguine snap, is that I get bone broke because I'm in too long, and then I'm in a really, really dangerous situation. However, we knew we had the water that we could swim in, and we're better swimmers than him, even if we're bone broken. He doesn't really have a whole lot of attacks he can use in the water, so I was able to swim over here, get to a ledge where I could get my stamina back, and then try it again. Now I've got to be careful here. I can probably get some bites on his feet, but if he stomps me and I get bone broken, he could potentially kill me with another stomp, or by jumping in the water and getting a bunch of headbutts on me, or even if he swiveled around after I was bone broken and got a tail hit on me, that would be certain death. So I was only able to get like one hit on him, but at least I got something, and then I swim back to the ledge and try to regroup. So we both got health, and Sin decides to do another stunning play here. Jumps off the cliff, gets a bite on his back, another bite on his tail, another bite on his side, and off into the water to safety. I mean, that is a risky, spectacular play right there. And without plays like that, without playing with a partner like that, we definitely would not have won this fight. And you can see that the little smoking symbol underneath the Argent, that means he's 25% health, so he's getting hurt. So I go in and try to pull off a stunning play myself, but I'm not a magician like Sin is, and I just get completely punished for it. I got one bite on his ankle, and I'm just getting completely obliterated. And somehow Luckily, Sin's luck rubs off on me, and I'm able to escape with an inch of my health here. And he somehow misses a couple of those tail attacks. I think because I'm just swimming in the water and most of my body's underneath the water, so his tail was kind of going over my head, maybe just skimming my tail a little bit, and I'm able to survive. And then this is the finisher, and I think after this experience with Sin, I think the guy's a magician, and I think that's what I'm going to call him from now on, Sin the Magician, because this is just another amazing and crazy play by Sin. Jumps off the cliff and just tanks the guy for the win. So we got the bounty in the end, and it was a couple of amazing fights. Had a great time yesterday doing these bounties with everybody, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and as always, guys, I hope to see you out there in Gondua. Goodbye.